Yes, acre.
Let's go.
Welcome back to the Just Like You and Me podcast on the road. We have Calvin Ringer here. Calvin, you were back on a podcast a long time ago, but you really couldn't hear us or see us.
Yeah, that's kind of a sketchy podcast back then. Is like, yes, it was a good area, but like you guys didn't have the real stuff. We would try and figure out like who you were. Like you weren't sure if like this would be like a Christian podcast or Catholic podcast, or you weren't sure if like it'd be like just like a group of boys just chatting. Like that's something you weren't sure about yet. You're still trying to figure out, which it's completely okay. Like that was early on. It was like I think like episode 5 maybe.
Yeah, it was something. It was below 10 for sure.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
It was very early on, but like I love following you guys along. Been listening to a while. Like I've been listening while I go work out with my sister Kaylee, which has been very fulfilling. It's been good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, you've had some great guests on here also so far.
Yeah, we've been really blessed. It's honestly been kind of crazy. Yeah, because like you said, we didn't start off with this being a Christian podcast or Catholic podcast. It was just like dudes talking. We're like, oh, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, like you and Ben have done a fantastic job building this little community here, and love to see where it has to go.
Yeah, it's going places. I mean, it's weird. In the last like 2 weeks, I've had people ask me to help them start. Like 2 people help start a podcast. Another guy helped start another Catholic business.
Oh, that's amazing.
So it's been crazy.
God.
Yeah, and then hopefully, if everything works out, I'll probably know it's confirmed 100% tonight. Might be throwing a Christian concert with Grace Church in Bath.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
That'd be insane, actually.
That would be really insane.
But yeah, the Lord works in crazy ways, and that's also why we got you back on. Because last time, like when you were on, we were talking about random thing. We talked about Ducks Unlimited, stories about hunting that we've met. We might get into that like at another podcast.
Yeah. Last time we talked about like how you and me met, like even like you and me, and like it wasn't like planned. It was through your brother Christopher, which has been a great role model for me and a great man. We'll get into that later on, also.
Yeah, we definitely. If Kenny's here, he might even come on. We don't even know yet.
That might be a miracle by himself because he's a little camera shy these days.
He is. He's like secluded. He's doing his own thing, watching the finals. But so as many people who might know you, Calvin, they know that you are a convert to the faith. And it was 2 years ago?
Yes, it was in 2022, this spring. And that's just an interesting story by itself because my Catholic journey started way before I even thought about going into the faith. And it started when I went to Rome out of high school. Like I did go to Rome, but I went to other places. Like through my high school, small town, southeastern Ohio, a lot of Protestant churches. I grew up Methodist my entire life. It's faith I loved, but there's stuff rumbling in the Methodist church I just didn't agree with it. Yeah, I still don't agree with it. I have no plan ever going back, and this is what led me to my journey. And like the journey was like, yes, I went to Europe after my senior year of high school. I had the opportunity to go to London, Paris, Barcelona, and Rome. And I didn't know anyone Catholic at the time. I have like some family members that are Catholic, but like I don't see them very often, and they're just really one part of the family, which there's nothing wrong with that. Just they had some instances where they just didn't come around very much anymore. But anyways, when I went to Rome, like I saw all the true history there. You see the history of the Vaticans. I saw the Sistine Chapel. I saw St. Peter's Basilica. Got to see a bunch of cardinals there. Like, and I took pictures of like saints there. Like I didn't know who they were, but like it's like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
Like, hey, one in Rome.
Yeah. Take a picture.
Take a picture. Like, and after a while, I'm like, wow, it's kind of creepy. I have a picture of a dead body on my phone. I regret deleting that photo because it was a saint. I can picture him, but he was a saint in St. Peter's Basilica. Like, I wish I kept that. Yeah. And I think it was pretty sure it was a pope also. That was all, his body was put there on display there. I think it was like, I love to, like, there's no one there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but through my experience there, like, let me just start wondering, like, what the Catholic faith is truly about.
Yeah.
And also, like, earlier that year, as my senior year, I decided I'm going to attend Walsh University, which was a true blessing by itself, looking back. Because now, like, I met my future wife here. We're getting married this August. And blessed to be God. I made great friends through you, Mike, and Ben, who's unfortunately not here today.
Yeah.
But I meet all these great people, which I've just been very fortunate about. But going on to, like, back to like what made me curious was like seeing the Sistine Chapel is just so beautiful. Like if you ever get there, I highly recommend. It's just like you just feel like holiness. You feel like history there. And like I started wondering like, what's that about? Like I want that, just like I don't know how to get there. So I went to Walsh my freshman year, and I graduated there for my freshman year. Like I didn't really go to church. I was like first time away from home, living home. Like now I can decide, or I go to church and people I want to be around. Like, some of my friends were Catholic, went to Mass every Sunday. They're good Catholics. But I'm like, I don't think that's for me. Like, I heard, like, what people said, like they didn't always stay completely for Mass, and I would leave early. I'm like, I'm not sure if, like, I'm down about it. Like, I want to be, like, in, like, tradition and lots of structure. Like, that's how I grew up. I like a lot of structure and, like, tradition, and that's what I want to be a part of. Anyways, fast forward my freshman year, like, I didn't really go to church. I'm ashamed of that. It's like where I, like, step away from Christianity, like, altogether. Like, once home, I'll go to church with my family, but, like, it just didn't feel right at the time. Like there's battles I was dealing with, like depression, and at the time, like, school was tough and just didn't feel like me at the time. Which, like, everyone goes into stages where you just don't feel like yourself, and I felt like God was kind of like abandoned me, but, like, I knew He was still there. Because also, like, when I was in school, when I was in high school, my grandmother got diagnosed with cancer, and it went pretty quickly. And, like, after that, like, that was my junior year, and I just struggled ever since then. And plus all the issues going on with the Methodist Church at the time, because I grew up Methodist, like them ordaining gay pastors, gay bishops in their church, and blessing gay marriages. I'm like, I was not a part of that. I grew up very conservative, right-wing family, and that's the way I want to be. Like, I want to be tradition, like, boom, 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 like, be straight as an arrow. Like, there's no gray. It's black and white. Keep it moving, type thing. But it was one of my sophomore year, and I started going to church. I started getting my feet wet. I went to some Protestant church up there in North Canton. Like, it wasn't anything specific. It was just a Protestant church. I don't remember the name of it. Yeah, it was, like, non-denominational, just something
Was it the big one?
No, not the big one. It was one, close to, like, the Toyota dealer.
There's so many.
No, Mercedes dealer.
Oh, it's still by the nice neighborhood.
Yeah, by the nice neighborhood. By the nice neighborhood. That's why I went there. By the time they were at Hoover High School, so there's, like, a group of people that went, and I just went with them. And then COVID happened, and that summer I started thinking about the Catholic faith a little bit. And that summer I was becoming an RA that fall. So, and I knew your brother Christopher at the time. Like, me and him, like, we had classes together all throughout, and, like, got to know each other a little bit. But, like, that fall, me and your brother Chris really hit it off. Like, we got super close. We're still close to this day. He's the best man in my wedding. You're in my wedding also. Got to know you. Thanks be God. But yeah, I got close to Chris. Chris went to Mass all the time, and I was very fond about that. Like, wow, like, good for you. Like, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing, but then going into Christmas, I'm like, one of our mutual friends, Gabe Krause, one night at his apartment, me and him were sitting around talking, and Chris was there, and they asked me, I said, why aren't you Catholic, Calvin? Like, you have all the same beliefs as a Catholic. Like, why aren't you Catholic? I said, I don't know, like, no one in my family's Catholic. Like, I've never been to Mass before, which actually I was. My first Mass I ever been to was in Tanzania, and it was in Swahili. So can you imagine a Protestant that's never been to a Catholic Mass before is in Africa with people from Walsh, and it's in Swahili. My eyes were this big around, like, what was going on? Then when Mass is over, like, this Tanzania, like, we got paired with someone from Tanzania sitting next to us. He looked at her and said, Mass is over. What are you going to do? I'm like, oh, okay. like, I didn't know. I never went to the Mass before. But anyways, going back, Chris Gabe said, why don't you go to Mass with us? Chris and Gabe went to two different parts. Chris went to the Novus Ordo Mass, and Gabe went to the traditional Latin Mass. And they asked me, like, Saturday night at midnight. I'm like, no, not this week. And I said, okay, that's why I said, like, we want you to go to Mass with us. And I said, okay, I'll go. I'd love to go. So the next day I went to Chris to Novus Ordo Mass, and I'm like, okay, like, I understand this. And Chris told me after Mass, said, okay, when you go to Gabe next week, it is completely different. Just so you know. And, like, what your podcast said with Dom about how Andrew Ertles looked at the Novus Ordo Missal, said that's not going to help you there. And that was absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Gabe told me, he said, Cal, I'm with her in the deep end, and you're a sink or swim, but I'm pretty sure you're going to swim. The first mass I went to was a solemn high mass. So do you know what a solemn high mass is?
It's been a long time, but people that don't know, what is that?
Solemn high mass, you have a priest, you have a deacon, and you have a subdeacon. So sometimes it's like 3 priests, or it's a priest, a deacon, like they're not married, like they're on their way to become a priest, or they are a priest. And the third one could be a seminarian that has had some type of rest. Like they could have been like, they could be a deacon, or they've been blessed and been conjured. So like people that go to the fraternity of St. Peter, those priests, they have conjure where they get their hair clipped and then you can start wearing a cassock. Same thing into Christ the King, and same thing into Good Shepherd. So my first mass was that. I was like, and Gabe said, I got a missile, but you're not going to look through it this time. I said, I just want you to watch. And like from that moment on, I knew you wanted to be Catholic. Because there was just so much history you could tell, and you just felt like something was special there. And I still love the Church of Latin Mass to this day. But like that's when I first started going. So then I too went to the Church of Latin Mass every Sunday. Chris would go sometimes we go to Mass with Chris, but every Sunday for the most part I went to the Church of Latin Mass. Then that was in from December, January, then we left it in May. So when I came home that year, I knew I wanted to become Catholic from school, but I didn't know how to go about it. So that summer I talked to my parents, said, hey, I think I'm becoming Catholic. And I said, okay, we support you. Like, we want you to be happy. I said, yeah. I said, I'm going to go to Mass, the neighborhood parish. I said, I'm going to go there. But also, I still go to church with you to support you guys. So I did that the year. So I went to Mass all by myself, the local parish. Like, didn't talk to anyone, sat there every Sunday, did everything I was supposed to do. And I'm not even Catholic at this point. Like, I'm going. And like, even when I was at school, like I went to adoration. Chris introduced me to adoration. So I spent a lot of time doing Catholic things, but weren't Catholic. Like, some people were saying I was being more Catholic than what other Catholics were doing, because like I did adoration 2-3 times a week. Then I went to Mass and I did all of these things. So going into my senior year, I had a girlfriend at that time. Started dating her. She is Catholic. But anyway, it was like, I talked to Chris, and I told Chris, and no one really said, I want to become Catholic. Like, how do we go about this? He said, well, like, you can do RCIA at Walsh, or you can find some place you really want to do RCIA. Well, I wanted to do RCIA through the priest that did his Church of Latin Mass, Father Pfeiffer. He's a great man. Yeah, I called him in August, said, hey, like, I want to become Catholic. I want to do RCIA. And he said, oh, perfect. I'll get back to you. He had some stuff going on. So I met Deacon John the first time. And from then, like, Deacon John helped me. It was amazing. I did RCIA with him and Father Pfeiffer. And, like, mine wasn't, like, a traditional RCIA. Like, I wasn't a group. It was just me. So like, I got a special bond with Father Pfeiffer and Deacon John. Like, it was nice to know those those guys on a personal level, especially Father Pfeiffer. And, like, all the questions I had, it was, like, behind closed doors, just you and me, let's talk. Like, for every once in a while, like, we got to know each other, and it was like great to answer those questions. Then Chris was my sponsor, and that was amazing that he was able to do that. And like when those meetings I go with Father Pfeiffer, like sometimes like, hey, what do you want to talk about? And I just round stuff off. Like we talked about saints, we talked about angels, we talked about anything under the sun. It was amazing. So I was very blessed by that opportunity. And one day Father Pfeiffer just asked, so when do you become Catholic? And this is like in February, and like he said, "Oh, you don't have to wait till Easter." Like, because I meet with him like every 2 weeks, and it was like 1-on-1. And so like we flew stuff. Like I read through the Catechism completely. That's one thing MD said. I only read through the Catechism. Like that's a thick book.
Oh yeah,
it is. I was like, wow. And that's a lot of information. Like a lot of our talks, it was like we talked about the Catechism, like what the Church said in Church teachings, and same time like I asked about the Pope, like. So we listen to Pope all the time, or like he said, we listen to Pope, but there's certain times like when he speaks ex-cathedra, he's speaking the doctrine of the church, and that was something that was like hard for me to like understand first, because as a Protestant, like I thought like Catholics listen to Pope and everything he says like is law. Like no, like certain things yes, other things like he's speaking from the chair of St. Peter, which is amazing and all by itself.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. But so, were there any like hardships coming into the Catholic Church, like doctrinal issues? that you're like, okay, I don't know if I believe in that. That Father Pepper kind of helped you work through.
Not really. Like everything, like I said before, like I had the same beliefs as the Catholic Church. I just wasn't Catholic yet. And, like one thing, like at first, like I'd say like a little hard to understand, but not really at the beginning. But like realizing the Eucharist is the blood of Jesus Christ, and like I looked into Eucharistic miracles, which was very fun to do. Like it's like cool to see. Like I'm like just that alone, I was like, wow, like this is what happens to the true church, and like the Eucharist is the body and blood of Jesus Christ, and like it was so amazing. Like going through that whole experience and like leading up to going my first communion, first confession. My first confession, like Father Pfeiffer helped me prep. Chris did. Chris can attest to this. It was funny. Like I had, like Father Pfeiffer said, anything like you know is done wrong, he said write on a piece of paper. Me and Chris, like I had like a page and a half, 2 pages, like front back. I had a couple pages front back, and I like number things, like how many times I think I did stuff, and like whatever, like more times than I could count. Like sometimes me and Chris be hanging out with our buddies. And I said, "You gotta be kidding me!" He said, "You remember another sin?" Whipped out a bad boy and wrote it down. And that was fun. Funny. Chris was like, "Oh, gee, Louise," says you're gonna be a good Catholic, and he was like very supportive. And like Chris day or night, I would call him, and he'd be able to answer questions. Same thing with Gabe. Both of them were absolutely phenomenal. Like I could bounce ideas, like say, "Hey, what does the church think about this? What does church think about that?" Like Chris knew like a lot of knowledge, but Gabe also knew a lot of knowledge, and it was just great to bounce back and forth on that.
Yeah. That's like having that good formation time, super important. And it seems like with your RCIA, you really dove in there.
Oh,
like to read the whole catechism and discuss that. I don't know if I know of any other RCAs, like the big group, they even have the time to do that.
Yeah, Father said, "No, yeah, just go through all the catechism said read as much as possible," and I read it. Like I was like, it was tough to read, and like the thing was like I started RCA in August, and I became Catholic at the end of February, and it was an amazing process going through. And like I said, lead up to my first confession, like most people go first confession like the day before or like the week before your first communion.
Yeah.
Well, I went my first confession a lot earlier than that because Father said, kind of like you're baptized and you're going to become Catholic, you can go to confession. So I went to confession and first time with Father, and that was amazing. Like when I walked out, I seriously wept. And the thing was like, my first time I went to confession, like people asked, "Oh, can we just go with you when we pray in like in the chapel and be there to support you?" I said, "No, I'll go over myself." And like people that used to go to St. Paul's or still go to St. Paul's, like they had a Friday night TLM, and they started confession like 3 or 4 o'clock all the way up until Mass. And I went during that time, and like Friday night, all myself stayed for Mass, and I wept afterwards. Like it was, I just felt like services like feel God's blessing come down upon us. And to this day, like confession, I feel like is a beautiful thing, a beautiful opportunity that us Catholics have to go to. Just go and ask for forgiveness for our sins. And it's something about like admitting your sins out loud. Like it means something. And like every single time I walk out of confession, I feel like something special inside me, like something different, like something happened there. So it shows that confession helps the human soul and body.
Yeah, it's a real thing. That's why we have it. Like everything, like when we had Father Connor Martin on, like our faith is logical. Like it has meaning. Everything kind of it works together for a reason, and the things are certain ways for a reason. Because if you can internalize all your sins and everything, and like, oh yeah, I'm sorry for this, but you're still holding on to that.
Oh yeah.
You know, you have to physically say it to a priest who's in persona Christi. It's not just a priest, you're talking to Jesus there directly.
Yes.
And that's where some people, it's hard to understand. I mean, there's a lot of parts of just faith, like having faith means you don't understand. You have to try to understand it. And you will never fully. You'll get bits and pieces, but it's God. If you can understand God, it's not really God. You know, we can't understand God. But so going into, so you came into the church in the traditional Latin Mass, right?
Yes, I did.
Let's talk about that Mass.
Yeah, that Mass. Well, Father got to slap me. He was very excited about that. We were running through, I was going to go the day before me and Chris went up. I did one last confession the day before I got my first communion, and father was so excited, like, oh, I haven't done this wrong. I get slap you. And like everyone knows, like today, like that doesn't happen.
No,
and then
no.
there was some, well, in the Novus Order mass, like they don't get slappy. And like Father Firefighter, you can see he let up when he side went, boop.
It's like, yeah, it's the one time you actually hit somebody and not get in trouble. Yeah, they used to do that a lot, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I remember back the day when I was younger going to like a confirmation mass, and the bishop would hit the dudes. It was like, sometimes if he had a little relationship, you could tell, like, they got him. He got him.
He did. But yeah, I can confirm in the traditional Latin rite, which in the Diocese of Cleveland, you have to ask special permission. It has to be done to Christ the King right now at St. Elizabeth of Hungary. So right now, that's where they can do it. Like, I got special permission. Like, mine was traditional Latin Mass confirmation, but it was also he tweaked a little bit to be English because this is just the way it worked out. Like, he had faculties to do it. Like, yeah, a little bit in the traditional Latin rite and a little bit like the Novus Ordo. So he did a little bit of both.
Yeah, those are my favorite masses, like the ones that are a mix of them. Because I love the traditional Latin Mass, but because I grew up in Novus Ordo, I'm looking for English. I'm looking to try to understand. Yeah. So it's really awesome to bridge the gap in that way. That's how my friends got married in like a high mass, but it wasn't like the solemn high mass. It was just like the hybrid type masses. We used to serve a lot of those as well. And those are my favorite.
Yeah, like anyways, like I went through traditional Latin Mass, and like thing is with the traditional Latin Mass and the Novus Ordo Mass, how they do confirmations differently. For the Novus Ordo, they do it inside Mass. Traditional Latin Mass, you do it outside of Mass. So like Father's not even in his vestments. He's out there in his collar, cassock, and his lace and a stole, and like that's how he does it. Yeah. Like so I got confirmed, got the oils blessed on my head, then we led into Mass, and then he went back, got prepared for Mass. Then I sat in the first row is Chris, me, my parents. My parents are not Catholic, they're Methodists, and everyone knows my dad. My dad's a funny dude, and I'm for sure I could hear you giggling 10 rows behind you. Because my dad has a bad back and hips, and when my dad gets up and down, he huffs and puffs a little bit. Yeah. If you guys ever been to traditional Latin Mass, I highly recommend going. You're not going to understand it for the first like 2 or 3 times, but it takes, I say, good 8 times of going. Like, you know what to do, and you're starting to understand. And like after 8 times, that's when I started using the missal personally. That's when I got introduced to the missal, and that helped me tremendously.
Yeah, just like Mass is beautiful.
Oh, it is. Yeah. And I've had like many great opportunities of seeing like some great Latin Masses. Yeah. Like Bishop S.R. Schneider, I got to go to one of his Masses in Pittsburgh, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Like there was probably 800 to 1,000 people there, and I was in the first 20 rows. Wow. Yeah, I saw him twice. That was different. Well, I've been at 2 Masses, and it's just like, it's amazing. Yeah. Like this, they're absolutely beautiful Masses. Yeah, but you mentioned being like connected with history, and that's the cool thing with the traditional Latin Masses. It's been going on for so long, but there's so many saints that was like the Mass they went to. So if you're thinking like, oh, I'm not good enough to be a saint, I could never do this, like, saints went to the same Mass you got to. They were getting the same catechism you were getting. You can do it. Like, they have the same playbook. It's easy to get disconnected from history because it's like I'm the only person that's done this. Like, no, like, yeah. And like with the traditional Mass, that's why I fell in love with it, because all the history, connection, like everything was so symbolic, and that's just like amazing. But like at one point, I was talking about how the Solemn High Mass, like the subdeacon at one point is his eyes covered because he's being like he's one of the Jews, like, and I believe in Jesus Christ was the true Son of God, like the Jews did, and that's why they crucified him and thought he was doing all these horrible things, but he was a true Son of God. Yeah. So like, I want to jump back into the Eucharist. So that's just something that I know that a lot of people don't fully understand. And you mentioned Eucharistic miracles, which I think is something that we need to talk about more because they're crazy real. And my favorite my favorite aspect of them is when something like that happens. They see like the host starts to bleed, and it's just crazy. People are praying. It's just nuts. But then they'll take some of the host and send it to labs without telling them where it came from and have them test it. And when it's happened several times, where it's like from, I want to say like the left ventricle, heart tissue, under stress, middle into young 30s. Yeah. Every single time, I think it's like AB blood type. Yeah. Like, coincidence? Yeah. Like, right? like if it's not like the true body clothes, it's proven itself time and time again. And like today's world, everyone's like, "Oh, I need science to prove it." Well, it's proven.
The Tilma, this crazy science there, the Shroud of Turin. Like we have science.
Yeah,
a lot of Catholics invented a lot of science too.
Yeah, that's the crazy part too. And I feel like atheists have even tested them. So like it's not been like all these Catholic resources. It's been biased, non-biased, and like
just it's been actually tested, but it's just not talked about. Like if it's just the world we live in. If it's not in the news and not talked about, it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
it's just really, really interesting. It only exists in small little sections. But being a Akron-based podcast, we actually have a really cool privilege of having a Eucharistic miracle in Canton, Ohio, which we're south of now. But remember the story now. Who was the lady? What's her name now? I can't think of her name. Rhoda Wise. So the Rhoda Wise, she lived in Canton. She had a really, really rough life. She was actually blessed with the Stigmata. Jesus visited her many times and traced the little flower. So going into that place, I would recommend everyone who listens to this podcast go there. It's fantastic. You can actually sit in the chair Jesus would sit in and talk with her. The chair's still there. You can see the Eucharistic miracle that happened there. It's in a tiny little. It's like a big jug with like the tiny like opening, and there's just a host in the bottom. And the story is they were because Jesus blessed this holy water, and some with the Catholics, like you can like take away like down to a quarter, a half, fill it back up, and it keeps his blessing. So they kept doing that, and they're giving out to people for healing. So there's crazy miracles with healings there, and they're kind of getting sick. They're like, oh, this is getting boring. And then one day, a flash of light, and then a host just falls down. And it's been there for like 70 years.
Wow.
It's crazy.
I never knew that.
Yeah. Have you gone?
No, I've not. I've been wanting to go.
Meet the Walsh, man.
Yeah. Well, we have to try to go several times, but like it just didn't work out.
Yeah, well, they have weird hours.
Yeah, I think the one time she was trying to have us go was when I taught her going to adoration, and I proposed to her that night.
It's like, see Jesus propose. I mean,
I'm just kidding. Oh, well, I mean, I did see Jesus, some to adoration.
Yeah, you did. So you saw Jesus and proposed.
Yeah, so it's
a win-win. It all works out. But yeah, the Eucharist is insanely cool. I mean, I don't know, doing this more and kind of on my journey of the Christian Catholic media and stuff like that. It's interesting hearing people's different views of it and how they can take the same one Bible verse and one people think this way and this way. But if you I like looking at like the history because that's where it's like what did the early church think of the Eucharist? What did they teach on the Eucharist? And it's abundantly clear what they did, and it's not like some people thought this or some people thought this. It was like, here, this is what it was. It's like, oh, that makes sense. But I know you mentioned a little bit about a story about the first time you received communion.
Oh, yes, I did.
So let's go.
Well, when I first started received communion was at St. Paul's in Church Latin Mass, and I went up there and I felt like something inside me, like I felt warm and so happy. I got to receive the body and blood of Jesus Christ in the Holy Eucharist. And after Mass, I did my Thanksgiving. It came out, everyone's thanking me. Your family came through, congratulated me, and he came up to me and he said, "So, what did Jesus taste to you?" I said, I don't know, the host doesn't have a taste to it. Like any Catholic knows, doesn't have a taste to you. He said, "Well, shoot." He said, "You must not be ready yet." He said, "Mine tastes like pizza." That's all he said, and walked away. I was like, wait, it's supposed to taste different? Am I worthy? It's like, what the heck? That went to Chris Edwards and said, what did Jesus taste like to you? He says, like
the host?
Like the host. He said, nothing? I said, your brothers told me his tastes like pizza. I'm not holy enough.
Oh, it might be heresy, but it's a funny joke. That I remember when I got my first communion, my neighbor asked me that. She goes, "Hey, what I received tastes like French fries. What did yours taste like?" And I was like,
"Oh no,
oh no! Am I broken? Jesus doesn't love me?" But yeah, I had to do that, and that's just our relationship.
Oh, that's been a good relationship.
That'd be a little heresy, but it was so funny. The look on your face was priceless. You're like, "What? Like pizza?" Yeah.
Oh no!
What am I
I was like, say, Father, we even need to start have meetings again.
I can't do this.
I'm not ready.
That's That's so funny. But so you mentioned your family is a hard turn. You mentioned your family is so they're still Methodist.
Yes,
but
they're
they
still
weren't.
Methodist.
They were awesome and
Oh yeah,
helping you become Catholic.
yeah. To this day, like they've been very supportive. Like they don't like completely understand sometimes, and that's okay. Like I try to explain the best of my ability, and sometimes like I still have questions, and like I'm still like researching answers and like trying to explain it to myself. Then also when they ask questions, I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna like lie to you. Say I know everything. Like I don't. Like Catholic Church. Like it's been on thousands of years of history. Like I'm not gonna say like misspeak for the church when like that's not my job and like I don't know. Like I've been Catholic 2 whole years. Like my fiance still calls me a baby Catholic. Yeah, like when we go to her house and like this past weekend I was up there and she had a bridal shower and there was saint games and she gave to me and her dad afterwards and said fill this out and I was doing some of those things. I was like, I have no idea. I'm like, this is awful. I feel awful for myself. She said, remember, you're still a baby Catholic. Like 2 years, 2 years, like you didn't grow up in this faith.
No, yeah.
And it's like the Catholic Church is like so big, and like there's so many different things to learn about it. Like I went to the Catholic Identity Conference a couple of years ago. I've went twice, and that's why I've seen Bishop Missionary Schneider twice do mass. But one of his talks in 1 year was on angels.
Mm.
Yeah, like angels is not something you talk about. And like after that, I went back to Father Pfeiffer. I said, "Let's talk about angels." He's like, "Oh, this is deep."
Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, like just something like us as Catholics and even Christians, like we know angels are there, but like, what really are angels? Like, we don't really talk about it. Like, it's not something we sit down and talk about, teach about. It's not like we know stories about them, but like we don't talk about it. And like what Bishop Schneider said, like also like during his talk that like made you feel good, like as Catholic and like just knowing like whoa, like angels are everywhere. Like he said, there's angels for your profession, there's angels of your home, there's angels for your city, there's your guardian angels, there's angels for all these different things that you don't even know. And he said something very important is you do not name your angel. Mm-hmm. You do not, because like some people are like, oh, it's my anybody, let's call my angel such and such. No, you do not name your angel.
We don't have the authority.
Yeah, we don't have the authority. Like your angel is your angel. You pray for your angel to help you. And like there's some crazy stories of like like angels like helping priests like bring stuff to the priest before mass that you forgot. Like there's like some crazy stories like that because they're like has such a close relationship with this angel. Like, can you imagine like being that close to your angel, like praying something, and all of a sudden something comes to you,
like an actual imaginary friend?
Yeah, yeah. But there's some crazy stories out there that I've heard and done readings on. Like this one priest like forgot something back in his room that he needed for mass, like one of his vestments, and like mass is great start, and he doesn't have time to go back, and he prayed, and all of a sudden it appeared. Like. That's crazy to have that close relationship with your angel. Like, I want to be that guy.
Goals, yeah.
Yeah, like, that's absolutely amazing to have that close relationship.
Did you ever see Father Stu?
Father Stu, yes, I did.
Like that guardian angel thing where it's like the guy came and say, hey, don't drive home.
Yes.
Like, that stuff, like, sometimes I'll find myself just looking out, like, I'm going to read a random, like, homeless person who's like, tell me what to do with my life. Because obviously it doesn't always happen like that, but it's like it's real. And that's the one thing that I think I kind of mentioned in the last podcast is like we are living for not this life, but the next life. We're living for eternity. And along with that, we also got to remember that the spiritual life exists and it's real. And you have angels, but you also have demons. So as many, I think it's as many angels as there are almost as many demons. Like it's an insane amount. And one thing that I find really crazy, it was I forget what exorcist was on Piet's podcast talking about when they're trying to like get the demon out of somebody. They're talking and they're trying to figure out like what they do, and like because each angel, each demon is made for a specific purpose. They were made for a purpose, but then they would deny it, and then that they would fall. And then how a lot of them were actually. Like their sole purpose was to praise and sing for when Jesus was like born, like that. Like when we in the Gospels where the shepherds were there and the angels sang, that was their job. Like it's crazy to think about just how vast the spiritual world actually is.
That's like one thing there's a couple things I like talked about Father that I just like didn't like fully understand. Like, you talk about like stuff that I struggled with coming into the Catholic Church and I just wasn't sure about. Like I asked about exorcisms and purgatory. There's and like the Eucharist is like we talked about earlier, but like exorcism and purgatory, those are the two big things I'm like, I need help like fully understanding. And I put a plug in for the Eat Day project here a couple years ago. They did a little talk on exorcism, and they had a priest from the Diocese of Cleveland come down to Akron and did a talk on it, and it was phenomenal. Like, it was like telling us stories and telling us like what to do so we don't fall into that trap, and like what to do if something happened like that, and just demons in general, like what they look for and like what they try to pry onto. And like I listened to a couple podcasts, and there's like one podcast really, it was interesting, but I felt something and I just quit listening. I have not listened to that podcast since. It was just like made me feel uneasy on the inside. I'm like I don't want anything to do like that. Like, no, not a chance. And like as soon as like I felt that way, I literally went to confession and talked to the priest about it. Like, he said, "Yeah, don't." Well,
no, it's real.
Yeah, it's yeah. And then like somebody's like, "Wow, is that really even real? Like, does this happen?" Like, because something like the Catholic Church just doesn't talk about. Like, there's a reason we talk about, because it gives like those demons power, like an authority. Like, no, they don't have that.
Yeah, because it almost like, because they live off fear. They love scaring you. And when you tell those stories over and over and over again, people get scared from it, and then that like puffs their chest a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
But mentioning that, I remember I had to have been freshman and sophomore in high school. We were having a Halloween party like for a youth group, and our priest was there. It was really funny because he like had his like black just priest clothes on and a huge cape and a Darth Vader mask. So it's just like perfect. Like all he had to do was put a kid's
mask. Like an OG priest. Yeah,
dude,
that's funny.
Father Steven, I don't know if you listen to the podcast, but I appreciate you. And he was telling exorcism stories like at the campfire to all these kids on Halloween. I was like, okay, I'm good. I walked away. I couldn't deal with it.
Like, it's scary. Like when you hear the stories, it's like, whoa.
It's real. That's why it's scary.
Yeah, and I like how like what the dioceses do. All dioceses do this. There's not Diocese of Cleveland. How there's a process of how they can tell if someone's been possessed or not.
Well, people are almost obsessed with the even concept. Like, I have this I don't even call her friend, person I know with like through a work thing that we followed her on Instagram, so like speaking with friends, whatever. Yeah. And then I noticed she's been posting things, and I was just like, what are we doing here? Yeah, right. I'm about to unfollow just because I don't want it in my feed, but it's really interesting. It's kind of funny how we got into this topic. That's what I love about podcasts. You just get into topics. But it's really weird the obsession people have with the devil. And Satan. They'll just say it's fake, it's not real, this is all crazy. But then they are constantly making art, pictures, joking about worshiping him, dressing up like him, praising him in songs. It's like,
not even that, but look at the month that we just turned into.
Yeah,
it's Pride Month, and that by itself, like, it's not good.
No. What's that? Hot with the Pride's weird.
Yeah,
first sin, dude.
It is first sin, and a lot of people say it's devil's work against demons.
Yeah,
and
I had something pop in my head.
What's that?
So I saw an Instagram post. Okay, Pride Month.
I saw it.
Yeah, exactly. You take away the letters.
Oh, right? I didn't see that one.
So you start taking away the letters, and eventually you get demon.
Oh, I thought
coincidence.
Ooh,
I don't know.
I thought about the Instagram post that it has a demon making a pride flag. I thought you would take that one. Sorry.
No,
I thought we were on the same wavelength there.
No. Mine was mine's a little deeper. It's a little weird. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's logical thinking of things. You can kind of deduce things. So don't get, because and that's the thing is, we're talking about actually on the podcast is releasing last week about mental health. And how if someone doesn't have a foundation of faith, finding help and getting to the normal level of just no anxiety, it's really hard to do. And because you're your own God, and you kind of just keep cycling through things, and that's really easy for an evil spirit, the devil, to kind of come in and make you feel worse, make you question yourself. Oh, I'm not good enough. You know, maybe no one really does love me.
Yeah.
And then try to find groups, and that's where all that stuff can lead to. And it's really sad when you don't have a rooting and foundation of faith, just faith in general, like Christian, Catholic, any type of foundation to go down to, you're kind of lost.
Yeah, like in my conversion, like I said, I was in a depressed state. Like I had lots of stuff going on emotionally. stuff at home, and I had like some health issues during the time. Like I was depressed, but luckily I found became friends with Chris and Gabe, and Chris is a seminarian now. Gabe was a seminarian, and he started out of it, and I respect him for doing that. I respect both of them. Like those are tough lives to live, and like blessed be God that Gabe gave it a shot, and Chris is giving it a shot also. Like blessed be God, and they helped me become the man who I am today, and helped me get back on my feet and be stable in my faith again.
Yeah, build that foundation, and it's awesome that, like, I don't know, I always had that, like, not a horrible thought, but it was like someone like leaving the seminary is like, oh, you didn't really try, but taking that step to seek out that vocation, that's the only way you truly can do it. People can say I'm discerning the priesthood, but then they're like going on dates, hanging out, but you really can't discern a vocation unless you're living out that vocation.
Yeah.
And I respect people so much that take that leap of faith, take that step. If they have that tiny little thought, like maybe I'm called to be a priesthood, take it, go, do it for a year. Talk with those priests, spiritual direction. Like they're not, the second you walk in, they're not going to just be like, all right, you're no longer going back into the real world. It's not like that at all. That's just how I think that's how I perceived it. I was a cradle Catholic. And so that's a huge respect for people who have the strength to do that. I know I have a lot of friends actually that have gone to the seminary and discerned out of it. Awesome. One of them is married now with 2 kids. He's doing amazing. Another one is actually he went in with his brother. His brother's still in. He's out living just a normal life, but he tried. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's giving it a shot. And like Gabe, when he went, I'm proud of him. Like I'm proud of Christopher going. But Gabe would tell me like his time there. Like if people don't know what the fraternity of St. Peter is, it's Fraternal Society of St. Peter. They only do the traditional Latin Mass. Their seminary is a little bit different than like Chris's diocese. There, his first year, he got 1 10-minute phone call a week. Yeah, no technology at all, and like. That's tough because look at today's society. Like we're all about technology, being connected with people, and I thank him every day for going and getting a shot. Like all this priests that go, everyone that goes become priests. Like thank you. Like we need it so badly.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's like their vocation. Like, they give a shot, and like everyone that goes, like thank you, and like you decide to discern of it, thank you for what you have done. Because like even just giving a shot like makes you a better man and helps like you come closer with God.
You spend a year praying, like what's the worst that can come out of that? You know?
Yeah, you come closer to your angel.
Yeah,
like, like darn, I didn't want that to happen.
I rattle up the rosary.
That's like what's talking like about struggling also about purgatory, like when his converted Father Fiver said to Calvin, just don't aim for purgatory, because if you aim for purgatory and you don't make it, you end up in hell.
Yeah.
He said, let's not do that. Let's aim for heaven. And he said, this I'm going to describe purgatory to you. Think of Walmart. You know where the carts are at in Walmart when you go through the doors, and you got the carts right there, and there's sometimes other doors like slide shut and in the grocery store. Purgatory is kind of like where those carts are at. You can see in the grocery store, but you're not in the grocery store. And you're there for purification, be pured until one day, like, you've done your time and your soul's pure, and you can go into heaven.
Yeah.
That's the best way.
That's a great analogy with it.
It's the best way for purgatory.
I wouldn't use Walmart as a place you wouldn't go to.
Like, I understand a grocery store. But I was like, that's a good analogy for it, because I said, how else do you explain it?
No, yeah, you really, it's hard to explain. And like I don't obviously we'll never fully understand everything that goes with purgatory, but it is really logical. It's actually really funny. It was it was just a Christian debating a Catholic, or it was a Catholic and an atheist talking about the concepts of purgatory. And the Catholic asked the other person, like, when you die, do you just go, like, if you live a sinful life and you like repent, you just go straight to heaven? And he's like, no, you go through a little bit of a you have to go through like a purification process. And he goes, purgatory. And he's like, oh no, that's not what I mean. It's like it's sometimes it's weird. It's just the whole aspect of like the word that you use, the language, and people are just like, no, it's not that. It's like, break it down logically. It's like, hey, you have to be in heaven. You have to be perfect. When you die, you're not perfect. You go through a process of becoming perfect. But also because like when we die, we separate from our body, separates from our soul. Our body stays, our soul leaves. Like the soul, it's not constrained by time and things of our understanding. That's why we don't understand it. That's why it's confusing, because it's not of human level. It's above. Thank goodness it's above. Because if this is it, like this is not fun. Like, bro.
I think what's also important that we forget about is praying for the souls in purgatory. That's something that if I've read stuff and heard stuff, like every time you pray for soul in purgatory, that means sorry.
You're good.
Every time you pray for a soul in purgatory, their guardian angel comes down and gives them just like a brief break from the pain of the purification process every day. So, like, it's very important to, like, not to forget about the souls in purgatory. Let's pray for them. And, like, that also allows them, hey, one day closer to getting to heaven, be purified. So that's something very important to remember and do. And just praying in general, praying for the souls in purgatory, praying for the unborn, praying to the saints, asking for help. And, like, another thing also, like, the big thing was, like, why do we pray to saints? We're asking for their help. And, like, people will debate, like, the rosary. Well, wouldn't you want to pray to Jesus' mother or talk to her and ask for her to talk to her son to help us?
It's
yes.
Someone even explained it in a Pines podcast. It's like our whole goal is to be like Christ, to get to heaven. Right? He's in heaven to be like Christ. Christ loved Mary.
Oh, wow.
To love Mary is to be like Christ.
Yes.
That's a crazy concept, I know. But when we say pray to, it's just have a conversation with and ask for them to take our intentions and also bring it to Mary, to Jesus. It's like you asking. Have two. It's like you're praying to Jesus, and then you have someone helping you. Like if you, and the thing is, too, people are saying like you don't need it. You don't need to pray, like to be Catholic. You don't need to pray to saints, but we get to. We get the opportunity to have people in heaven who love us and want us to be with them. That they're willing and they want to help us so desperately. That's the beauty of Catholicism. That's the beauty of being able to pray to saints. It's an opportunity, not something that we have to do. We get to do it. That's what a lot of people don't understand. That's to be clipped, and now people understand. Just kidding. It's like won't understand.
Yes, but like it's very important. That's something like I struggled with at the beginning, but like now I'm good. I mean, I was like talking about like Mary praying the rosary is like a sledgehammer to a demon and the devil's head. Every single time you pray Hail Mary, and every time you pray a rosary. So that's something to be blessed with also.
Like it's all in the Bible too.
No,
Our Father, Hail Mary. Like it's like, I don't know. That's one thing that the more I've been on the internet, seeing comments, posting different things, and looking at all of it, a lot of the issues aren't actually issues. It's just a misunderstanding of what is being said. And that's where I'm like, okay, that makes sense. If I believed what you believed about what I believe, I would think I was crazy too. Like, genuinely. And because it's...
I mean, you are crazy, but...
Well, we all know that.
Expose you here.
Hell no. So they've been watching. This is our 43rd episode. If they didn't figure that out by now...
43rd.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
But yeah, it's that's what I love about, like, having kind of a platform, is to slowly be able to break things down to like a normal level and actually say what we believe. And I'm not perfect. Ben and we're still learning and young in this, but we still have some really good opinions on some things, and we're just trying to spark thought. And that's what I've seen a lot in the comments. And my favorite thing is when we post a video that gets some reactions from the other side, to see Catholics come into the comment section and just start defending. Because Ben and I can't do it on our own. We get so many comments, and sometimes we'll say we get defensive, but it's easy to get defensive when like we're creating this content, and people will start to try to rip something apart, and it's like, oh no, it's like, oh, take a step back, take a breather. That's where Zach Taylor, who's really helpful with having me not read comments, because I actually got an altercation like a guy like 2 weeks ago.
Oops. That's one thing that I had to learn also while becoming Catholic, is learn how to defend the faith. That was something like me and Father talked about. He said, now we teach you how to defend the faith. And that's something that I try to do the best of my ability, but also, like I said, like I'm still learning every day. Like, yes, I'm Catholic, and I feel like as Catholics we should always be learning about our faith. We always go through formation, should always be doing reading. Like something I find like very useful is the Formed and using different podcast platforms. Like there's plenty of podcasts out there. It's good to listen
you're
to.
listening to other podcasts? What the heck?
Yes, I mean I love just listening, just like you and me with Mike and Ben. But also like it's important like to be listening and like seeing what else is out there and hear like different priests or different point of views. Like there's this one podcast that I listen to. It's Ask a Priest Live. It is, and they're I forget how many days a week they do live, but like sometimes I just listen to the clips like once they post like on the podcast app or Spotify. But like you can send an email in or call in, ask a priest. It's priests like it's usually like a traditional priest like from the Zoo Christ the King or the Fraternal Society of St. Peter, which is good. It's just good. It's not the SPX, it's FSSP, which is good. It is good.
And that is all we'll try to do.
Yes. But then like the Institute of Good Shepherd, there's like a couple, and there's some diocesan priests up and all that. But there's some very good stuff there. Like you learn about history, some history about the church, some situations. You get any questions? Like, it's important just like listening and have that ability. Like it's good to have like a good relationship with your priest, but also like your priest can't be with you one all the time or be your beck and call. Like he is serving a parish. He has lots to do. There's lots of people in a parish. Like, and we got our opportunity to just like get online and call and say, hey, Father, like, you don't have to say your name. Like, I got a question, and he'll talk about it and let everyone know. Because, like, for example, like, someone else might have the same question as you, and maybe you just don't feel have the courage, like, to ask it, which is okay. Like, it's okay. Like, sometimes, like, to ask stuff like, oh, I should have known that. But it's like, no. Like, let me explain it. Like, someone's like, so I thought the exact same thing. Like, I don't fully understand. It's good to have, like, those resources also.
Yeah, that's a risky move to have people live come and do priest and ask questions.
Yeah, well, there's a guy sitting there facilitating the conversation.
Okay, otherwise, like...
and he censors it out. And it's like, yes, like, yes, no.
Yeah, that's good. But no, that's always good. I mean, as Catholics, as Christians, we're called to always be learning about our faith. We're called to always do research, to read scripture, read history, and understand to the best of our ability. We're lifelong learners. You're not going to read the Bible one time and I understand it.
Yes.
It's something we constantly go back to, and we need to constantly see what we can pull out and kind of build that understanding over time and share it with people. That's super important. But that's the tradition of the faith is fantastic. And the best way that I've found so far, my opinion, not doctrine, is to evangelize, is to not go and say, here, this is why, right here. It's just living out the best life you can as a Christian, as a Catholic. It's living out your best life, living virtuous, doing the best you can. That's leading by example is going to be the way that we're able to change. Being the person in that room that people go, why are you so happy?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for, I want someone to be like, wait, you're Catholic? That's what I want. That's I'm waiting for that. Hopefully one day I'm blessed enough to get that compliment, because one of the best compliments a homeschool person is go, wait, you were homeschooled? It's like, they didn't know.
I can tell. But you have to homeschool a little bit. But like, talking about like in terms of people with Catholic faith, like also like we're not supposed to force it upon us. Like I listened to a great podcast by the Fatima Center that talked about like the Catholic Church as a whole, and like the true faith is in the Catholic Church, and you receive salvation in the Catholic Church, and how the priest talked about like, yes, we want everyone to become Catholic, but we don't want to force it upon people. That's the thing. Also, like we want to lead them to it and help them when they ask questions, like guide them there, but we don't want to force it upon it, because once we force upon it, like then there's a problem.
Yeah. Well, you understand too, like there's Christians are still worshiping Jesus.
Yeah.
And they're on their own journey in their own way, and they love Jesus so much. And it's just being like someone there for them to ask questions, for them to even want to ask you questions is a huge compliment in itself. And also, I mean, even a broader scale, is just showing people who Jesus is. If you even get them to that little step where like they meet the person of Jesus, they have an encounter with Christ, no matter where it is, that's a win. That's a huge win, because it's a dying thing. It's against the culture. It's the antithesis of the culture to be Christian, and so to get people to do that is absolutely fantastic.
I have to apologize. We had a little bit of noise in the background from Mr. Christopher Villarreal sneezing.
Yeah.
Sneezing.
He did a pretty good job. I honestly, the mics probably didn't even pick it up.
Oh,
and I use AI.
No, that's my fault then.
It's all right. Just ruin the podcast. It's okay. I'm just kidding. But yeah, there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with that. But we're really glad to have you in the Catholic Church.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having Jesus.
You were actually you were on a YouTube video talking about the Eucharist. Were you not?
Yeah, and the Rosary was the one that you did, or
oh, me? Oh, baby, on the other channel. Don't know. Yeah,
oh, yes. I was trying to remember. Like that's been a minute. Like I think that
did I post it? I did post it.
I don't know. Is that account even still active?
Kind of. It's more on Instagram.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just hard to get YouTube videos together, and then I'm just doing so much. Like I said, like earlier, like I just had people like ask me how to start a podcast, and so I'm like, okay, I don't know how to start a podcast. And we're just kind of, if you look, we have 3 just iPhones. Yes. This is hooked up to my computer. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, I enjoy like you doing this. I'm very blessed to. You asked me to do this tonight, and like I'm very lucky. I feel like sometimes we should reverse roles and ask you questions. Like you should have like a guest host and ask you. I think it's time for like the tables reversed for you and Ben, and like someone that talked to you and Ben and asked about your guys' stories.
I thought about that actually. I thought about that concept. If we get another host on, so an interview myself and then Ben. So like I would choose who would help interview me, and Ben would choose who would help interview him.
Yeah, I think that'd be like great because I'd love to see that because there's like some questions like I want to ask you tonight, but like that's different podcasts. That's diving in.
I'll let you ask me one, and then what we'll do is that I'll have you give your final thought, call to action, and we'll wrap this one up. We'll save the rest for later.
I don't know.
So this is one. This is your. Oh. So this the thing is So like you're the hot seat now. I don't know how to do.
I'm the hosting now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough question. Like you got me on the spot. Like I had a couple questions earlier on, then now like poof.
Gone. It's not easy, is it?
It's not easy. It is not easy. What's a good question to ask you? I'm trying to think. What was it? Now, see, all questions I'll ask you leave an open door for another conversation, so it's fine.
I'll leave it closed ended.
Yeah, we'll leave closed ended.
I can leave something closed ended.
No, we'll do another time.
Another time? All right, we're just to tease everyone for that. Like 30 seconds.
Yeah, we're too. But yeah, for another time, I think we should do that, or maybe we should do like instead of like Ask Priest Live, we should get some questions beforehand from some of our listeners and do it that way.
That could be really cool. Yeah, I want to be more interactive, so that'd be an awesome thing. Yeah, because I've been working on a couple things. If you guys have seen the Instagram now, we've been working on some stuff. So we have we're posting more informational things about the podcast, giving some value back because. We realized talking we were just putting shorts just in everyone's face, constantly look at my stuff. So now we're trying to give a little bit of value. So we do so each episode that's posted. Actually, I have to make one for write that out later. But each episode that's posted, we write the podcast number, the kind of the topics we touch, and there's a picture of the guest, and then we make short videos. Yeah, we'll take a thumbnail picture after this. But the short videos, we write a little blurb about it, and then we post the actual whole long form clip. So if you didn't have time to watch podcasts, it's on Instagram. Hope you guys appreciate that. We're really trying our best to do that.
Yes.
But this has been actually fantastic. I've really enjoyed this. So as you've been watching, we like our guests to leave a final thought or call to action to our audience. So that is your camera right there, and this is your time.
Final call to action: be brave, stand up for the Mother Church, and be blessed and be Catholic.
Beautiful. And this has been the Just Like You and Me podcast. We'll see you next time.